drove me was like, this is something that I can build things with. And I see other people building things with this skill, similar to how you all are building things at hackathons. It's to me the number one way to get inspired and see what's actually possible in the world. And that is quite meaningful. So after kind of like learning the basics of it, I started hacking around with my own projects, ended up focusing a lot of time on those instead of school, which made my like grades suffer even more, I suppose, for at least a short period of time. But that exposed me kind of the world of like entrepreneurship and building not just projects, but also like businesses with this tech. And so that was quite meaningful for me. Throughout my college years, I kind of like went back and forth between building projects and working on my own things and working in like I guess big tech, but it wasn't like traditional big tech. It was more research. So I worked at IBM Research as an intern for a couple of summers, and that was a hugely formative experience for me as well. What's really nice about doing a like research internship is you get to think really deeply about a problem, not just try to bang your head against getting something out that's really well understood, but actually like taking a step back and saying to yourself, is this actually the right question? And knowing what questions to ask, what problems to solve. That's something that you actually don't get a lot in the act of building necessarily, but you do in the act of building like projects, but you do in the act of like building a company. Because you're constantly also asking yourself, like, is this the right problem I should be solving? Is this the right product to be building? Who's my ICP? What do they care about? ICP means ideal customer profile. What do they care about? What are their pain points? And so taking that step back has been a skill that's been beneficial as well. Cool. So near the end of college, hmm, for me, I graduated in 2020. So that was when COVID hit, and I was gonna go work at Apple on their neural engine team, but ended up deciding to work on like an incubator, sort of similar to Headstarter in a way, but it was called the COVID Response Lab, and we had a bunch of people from Stanford and some other schools basically building ventures to tackle problems related to COVID. And through that, I met uh, two of my co-founders for the first company that I really worked on seriously. And I also met my co-founder for Autograph, or one of my co-founders from Autograph, Dylan. And so I built the first one, which was called AccessBell, and we ended up working on that one for a year, and then sold it to our biggest customer at the time. And then I worked, and then I kind of like was doing the handoff, and then things started getting crazy with Autograph. Kind of was working on that with Dylan, and we ended up being able to work with Tom Brady as mentioned, and that one sort of took off as well. And so that was the story with that. And yeah, I've just kind of been building ever since. Worked on Autograph for about 3 years now. I'm working on a new company called CoFrame, and we got it to a really good state, scaled the company and got it to a good position. And so now I'm back in the early phase of company building, which I really enjoy. And so yeah, that's a bit of my journey so far. And you also
All
asked
right,
about
cool.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that. Wanted to kind of transition into a few questions that I had. So I think you mentioned in the past like how you filed like 20 patents. Could you talk a little about that?
Eh, It wasn't 20 patents. It was like I think it was like 11. I think it was like, or it was like 20 papers when you combine the papers and patents together. But yeah, we just filed like 10 or 11 at IBM. Yeah, that was a really cool experience
How,
because yeah, huh?
uh, how old were you at that?
Um, let's see. I was the first four I did my sophomore year summer, and then the next seven we did throughout the next year and a half or so. Um, yeah. So you're asking how we or like, yeah, it's kind of unusual, I guess, to file patents. It's unusual in most types of like internships, but not in a research focused one, I would say. That one for IBM research in particular, they're very focused on IP, and they highly encourage people to file patents. And so the basic idea behind this is you're working on a scoped project and you're trying to solve a general problem. Throughout the process of discovery, you identify areas in which you can like basically put a stake in the ground where no one's put a stake before, and you find out a new way to do something, a new system or method or something that you can build. You build a prototype, you present it to a committee, and there has to be like again like a business case for it. How is this going to drive value? And once those boxes are checked, you just like submit it and see if the USPTO um, accepts it. And they have a really nice system. So I like worked with an attorney there for most of my patents, and it was just like a very smooth operation. I actually wouldn't really recommend if you're building a business. I wouldn't recommend doing patents necessarily unless it's like in biotech where the IP truly is like defensible and the real like differentiator that you have. I think it's a distraction for most startups to have them or to file them. But for big companies, they can be useful. It's just that like they're difficult to defend. If someone infringes upon it, you're not going to drop 100 grand in court to try to defend it if you're a startup. Like this just doesn't make sense. So but yeah, that was a cool experience, and definitely was a nice way to get into that world and just like start learning what it's like to be an inventor. And
All right,
yeah,
cool. Now let's take some questions from the chat. Uh, what helped the most to figure out the product market fit?
what helped most to find product market fit? So this is different from company to company, I would say. For AccessBell, it was enterprise, so we kind of figured out product market fit through just like servicing a big customer and identifying what their needs were and just really sitting down and talking with them a lot. And for Autograph, product market fit was kind of like, I mean, in a way, it was sort of solved at the beginning. Like we saw this really like major trend, but the gap in there was, I guess there's like two types of product market fit for Autograph. There was like on the talent side, so on the brands and celebrities that we worked with, there wasn't really a strong um like player in the space that just had their act together and was really put together in terms of like the business side and the legal side and so forth. And we came in as kind of like the people with a lot of experience in the entertainment industry who could do those types of deals, and people were like just asking for it, right? So like I would hear this from lots of people, and and yeah, you just like hear of a problem, and if you're hearing it over and over again, there's most likely going to be a need for it. So yeah, that's the PMF there. And then for CoFrame, it's kind of been similar, I guess, um, to I guess the first two in different ways. For the enterprise side, we are talking a lot to like large customers and just going deep on their problems. But at the same time, there's kind of more of like a going out and listening to a lot of people and hearing what their issues are, not necessarily going deep in conversation into with like one large enterprise, but also like hearing from a lot of folks when we put stuff out on Product Hunt, put stuff out on Twitter, and we'll get like a deluge of inbound and people giving feedback and that kind of stuff. So the feedback piece is so crucial though. For just PMF, it is like you got to have signal and you got to be smart about how you process that signal, as to into like what's true signal, what's noise, what are people actually willing to pay for. And then the biggest thing there too is um, like is this something that like what am I kidding myself? Like you come in with biases and you tend to have these like uh, self enforcing biases where you come in with a point of view, and everything that you hear that backs that point of view up, you kind of like it's like okay, it must be true. But the challenge is like taking a step back and removing your bias from it, and trying to come up with like an unbiased, really grounded view of the world. So that's a big piece of it. But yeah, just you just gotta like kind of be tapped into the world, if you will. Like experience can significantly help. What I would say that in general, like when you hear about repeat founders doing companies that they've already been in the industry for, the chances are those are going to be much more successful. I think like great
All
example of
right.
this, like Parker Conrad from um
Hey
uh
Josh, I hate to cut you off, but we
oh
have to
sure.
go through like some other questions. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, so wanted to ask you, how are you dealing when you had a exam in university and managed to upskill?
How do I deal with what?
Actually, here, let me ask you a different question. Can you explain the AI behind CoFrame?
Yeah, what specifically are you curious about?
At a general level of what a beginner, what they may not know.
Okay, sure. So CoFrame, what CoFrame does at a high level is allow websites to improve themselves. So today, people, in order to improve their like websites or apps and so forth, what you'll do is you'll run experiments. You'll create multiple variations of the website or the experience, and you'll test them out and see which ones perform the best. But that's a very tedious and manual process that, teams across engineering and design and marketing have to do. And the the time spent on it, like the effort and energy, like no one likes to do it. It's just an annoying process, but it's something that AI is very good at. It's just coming up with lots of experiment ideas and generations and variations. And so, what we're doing is essentially it's close to like generative A/B testing, but we actually use a more modern technique that allows us to test like instead of um, two variants or like wait for a bunch of time to see the results. We're continuously testing and adding like new variants, like you could do tens, hundreds, even thousands of variants over the course of some period of time based on your traffic. So that's kind of what we're doing. And what we use AI for is optimizing copy, images, and UI, like a code, UI code, HTML code on websites right now.
All right. Well, you go ahead, yes.
I just want to mention one thing. So Josh, uh, I'm enamored by your progress, and ever since we first met, I just want to really mention, like in very simple terms, what you did. So Josh, we have 5 projects across 5 weeks that our fellows have to build. In the last 2 weeks, to build a project with 1,000 users and 1,000, or get $1,000 in revenue. Now, the first project they had in the first week was to build a landing page. And the idea was landing page is the start of your personal brand and also your product brand. And your company, CoFrame, what it does is how do you find the right words on your landing page so that maximum number of people can click on the call to action button, whether it's a waitlist, whether it's a paywall, whether it's a create an account. And you use AI to real time change the copy, right? So just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure everyone understood like what Josh's company does is he takes landing page, which is a very important real estate of a company, and he makes it like alive. So instead of being static, instead of having a developer make the changes, is it like it's real time making GitHub pull requests, right? Or like making the changes.
Yeah, it actually deploys. We do cache the variants, so we're not actually generating in real time, but
Yeah.
we cache a bunch of variants and then dynamically decide which one to show the user, and just deploy it on the
So you,
page.
you also have like a winner, right? Like you try multiple users across the world, different copy, and then like you whatever has the most hits, you spring it up.
Yeah, actually, what we're trying to do is do away with the idea of a winner or a loser
Okay.
because it's like constant optimization. It actually constantly tries new things out, and there should never be a final winner.
Josh, is your app only open to enterprise customers or can like people like us also use it?
Right now, just enterprise. Yeah,
Okay, all right. At least
maybe we're doing a self-serve product like growth launch pretty soon though.
okay. And we'll all be there for your product hunt support. So Sajad, I'm just give back to you. Would you like 1, 2 more questions, Josh? Is that okay? And then we'll call it a night.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a final question out here. Um, how's Tom's involvement with Autograph in terms of the tech scene?
In terms of the tech scene,
Like, and what was his involvement with Autograph?
so I mean, Tom really made a lot of this work. Obviously, this name is very, very recognizable. Was responsible for a lot of our deals, and he's just like a very like inspirational character. I mean, he gives a lot of really good pep talks to the company. He's not like in Slack every day, obviously, but he's a very major part of the company.
All right, cool. Yeah, could we throw in some love for Josh in the chat? Really appreciate you, Josh, and I really appreciate everyone who came on today. I really hope that you guys at least learned something of value, maybe something you'd like to share with a friend or family, post on LinkedIn, post on social media, share about it. But to everyone who joined in, thank you so much, and we'll see you all next time.
All right.
Josh, do you see the
Bye,
love?
everyone. Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Thanks
And
so much for having me. It's great to chat with you, and hit me up if you have any questions.
of course, Josh. All right, take care. Take
All
care,
right.
Josh.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah, that kind of wraps up our event for today. I just want to see what do you guys think about Josh? Like, Josh, I know you guys. Yeah, I know the questions may have been a little bit better. I just want to mention that um, Josh is a prodigy. He learned how to code his freshman year of Stanford. He interned at Amazon. He hated it. The next summer, he's filing 20 papers and 20 patents. That doesn't in the research team. So, um, and then like the next summer he has a startup, and the next summer he has a startup, and the next summer he has a startup, and that startup happened to be with Tom Brady. So like this guy like a lot of people ask, how do you get 1,000 users or $1,000 in the app? You know how you get it? You be around people, you surround yourself, you learn from, you be in the proximity, in the um literal, you want to be around the people who are making that, right? So Josh isn't making $1,000. He's making like $1,000 a minute, right? That's like his thing. And I'll tell you how I met Josh. If people want to know. If people want to know, I'll tell you how I met Josh. Maybe it's not interesting. But the way I met Josh is I have a really good friend of mine. His name is Hamza. He was a KP fellow, Kleiner Perkins fellow for product management. Now, Hamza started as a software engineer. He went to Berkeley as well. And he interned in 10 companies while he was at Berkeley, including Google, Tesla, and Salesforce. And then he was a scout for Sequoia. And he co-founded, or he would talk about Josh as his mentor, someone he would look up to. And so me and Hamza, we're close friends, and he talk about this Josh person, Josh. And I'm like, who's this Josh kid? From Stanford. Oh, okay. Then, what happens is like I go to last year in March, I flew to California to pitch our startup Headstarter. And guess who else is pitching? Josh. We're both pitching. And I was like, Hamza, you're not gonna believe this. You got no idea who's pitching right now. And the accelerator we're pitching for was called HF0. They invest I think they give you basically like it's unheard of. Like they'll give you like a couple 100,000, like $500,000 at a 20 million valuation. You just have to like prove like you're good. Obviously, I was like, this is like I'm just new here, like I'm pitching, I'm meeting all these other smart people. Josh though is different. They begged Josh to come and pitch at this place. And lo and behold, the 7 companies that they took, or 10 companies they took, Josh was one of them. And what was understood later on was they were looking for companies who would make 100K in a month. You guys are challenged to make 1,000 in like a month ish. They had to make 100K in a month, and they didn't even bet on him. I don't think he had 100K at that time for CoFrame. They knew he would do it. They had guaranteed that he would do it, right? And so he did it. He probably did at this point. So Josh is no joke when it comes to technical prowess. His network, if you go through his LinkedIn posts, he knows directors at Netflix. He knows creators of like GitHub and like he knows all the smart technical people. I wouldn't be surprised if he has Sam Altman's phone number in his phone book. Like we met Nabil, we met Dennis, but this is a Silicon Valley bred and born kid. He did CS here. He's building companies here. He's been successful. He has a track record. And he does host hackathons. So if you live in Silicon Valley, I'd be plugged into this guy. Whenever you show up as hackathon, you might meet the founder of Devin. You might meet like all those guys look up to him, right? So He's very humble, very low key. You know, he doesn't like praise in front of him, but that is who Josh is, right? So I would really encourage you guys to follow him. Go find his GitHub, look at his new code that he's writing, follow his company. Um, and like there's a Josh in everyone's life, right? You have to find who the Josh is that you can meet and shake their hands. And when you end up meeting the Josh, and this is what I always want to just like mention, is you want to ask them a question because no one's ever going to remember, no one's gonna ever remember you know your background, but they'll remember how you made them feel, right? So like I know when I first met Josh, the first thing I did was like, yo, there's no way you're Josh. He was like, yeah, I'm Josh. I'm like, you know Hamza? He says, yeah, I know Hamza. I was like, let's take a selfie and send this to Hamza. Right. And so he probably always remember that, like, oh, this kid, Hamza probably gassed me up. And, you know, that's how you guys want to like, you want to find who the Josh is in your life. And, you know, one day, like, maybe you can become like them. Right. And so Josh is an incredible person. And I think we're very, esteemed to have him. I think someone here want to just go find his GitHub. Anyone want to go find Josh's GitHub? I think that would be pretty cool. Anyone want to find his GitHub? We just search Josh Payne, CoFrame, and there we go. Look, we found it. His GitHub. All right. So look, you guys are like amateur programmers. You learn a little bit of Hello World and whatever. This man has 1,171 contributions. Isn't that mind blowing? He has 1,171. He's an actual exited founder. Like he's sitting on tons. He's sitting on millions of dollars, but he still chooses to code because he likes it, right? And I remember one day I made a post on LinkedIn, and it was like, if you don't have green dots every single day, you're not like a top tier programmer. I use a little bit derogatory term, and I don't want to mention it today. But a lot of people took offense to that. They went on different Discord, like, oh, how dare you tell people to have green dots every day? Let me just reframe what I meant to say. If you want to be a top 1% engineer, if you want to be like a Josh, if you want to be a top 1% entrepreneur, you need to have green dots every day. You just need to. You just need to have that, and you know what? It's not my word anymore. The founder of the current president of YC, Gary Tan. Anyone know here Gary Tan? Maybe one day we'll get Gary Tan for a Pathways to Tech event. How cool would that be? You guys, people here know Gary Tan? People here know Gary Tan? Gary Tan made a post like last week saying, if your GitHub looks like Josh Payne, message me because YC companies are looking to hire you. Gary Tan said that. Gary Tan said that, right? I mean, Josh has 337 followers. After today, better have like 400 guys just to follow. And so I want to tell you guys just one thing. Why are we doing Headstarter? The reason that we're doing Headstarter is because GitHub green dots are not like they give you one angle. But trust me, I have 10 of my friends who have YC companies. Everyone looks at YC companies like, well, YC companies. 10 of my friends have YC companies. Like that I grew up with, right? Or like that I met, or like my colleagues, right? That I ran marathons with. Like I run marathons, right? I got the t-shirt on. But what I'm trying to tell you is all YC companies and all like kind of like I forgot who was saying, Masood was saying, they look for that cracked top tier engineer, right? And so my idea for Headstarter is some of you here are already top tier. I want to find out who those top tier people are. And I want to make sure that you think you have the best shot at like, I really believe top tier people have options, right? And so if you can find the right job, like, imagine you got to work for Josh. Like you're not just getting a 6-figure salary, but you get to work with Josh. Josh actually knows the founder of Google. Like he knows the founder of Google. Like this is not a cap. He knows the founder of Google. He used to work at an accelerator that Google, Eric Schmidt had funded. He used to work at a company that Eric Schmidt has funded. And so you know, this is Josh, man. Like he knows. Like imagine you get to work for Josh, right? Like what are the chances that you raise 100 million 5-10 years from now? Very high, right? Like very possible, right? So anyways, what I'm trying to say is like my goal with Headstarter is in these next few weeks, I want everyone to take their deadlines very seriously. You got to do the projects. And what we're going to do behind the scenes is create an internal ranking of you guys. And we're going to go to Josh, and we're going to go to Nabil, and we're going to go to Masood, and we're going to go to Kamran, all these AI founders who are building AI agents who are funded. And they're looking for the smartest and top tier people. And we'll tell them, hey, you're looking to hire cracked people. You're looking to hire elite software engineers. You're looking to hire your next whatever. We have them. And no, we're not going to give you green dots. We're not going to give you resumes. We'll give you actual projects that they did, code that we vetted. We'll give you presentations, Reddit posts, every single Discord message that was said, how they reacted, how they think, the people they helped on Discord, the way their teammates gave feedback to them, and their level of public speaking, the level of soft skills, the level of being a team player, the level of getting feedback. And we will show them that. I don't believe in this lead code stuff. I believe in real building, real mindset, and real teamwork. And that's what we're doing at Headstarter. And the people who are not at that level, because a lot of people are beginner, guess what? Let Headstarter be your home. You can actually be at that level. We want to give you the opportunity to do that. You give your best in these 5 weeks, trust me, it will be transformational. What you guys did the last 3 weeks is nothing compared to what the next 3 weeks are going to have. The next 3 weeks are going to be crazy. We haven't even started AI. I'll just give you one little tidbit. AI, ChatGPT wrappers. A lot of people are like, oh, Headstarter projects are ChatGPT wrappers. Trust me, within ChatGPT, within OpenAI projects, there's 4 different levels. The first level is just simple prompt engineering. The second level is you add RAG pipelines. The third level, you do reprompt generation, or you do an ensemble of models, which we talked about and the fourth level is training, Q, LoRa, and LoRa. And then with training, there's other issues like hallucinations. There's other issues like, how do you know the data you train actually makes sense? Look up this term called hella swag. Hella swag is how you train, like whether your fine-tuned model actually makes sense. And the level of challenge and nuance is when you fine-tune on your own data set, you have to have your own training data to test it. You have to create your own equivalent of hella swag for whatever you're creating. Like when people say ChatGPT wrapper, nothing makes sense. ChatGPT wrapper is just day one. But you can arguably say Josh's app right now is a ChatGPT wrapper. It's not. He probably has prompt regeneration. He probably has RAG pipelines. He probably has, cosine similarity search. He probably has vector embedding libraries. He probably trained on so many different landing pages to find the optimal copy for the different industries. Like that's all stuff that he's doing, right? And so, arguably, it's not about who's using OpenAI is about the scalpel, right? Like the scalpel is like is a person who's using the scalpel. You can give a scalpel to a homeless guy, he's probably gonna stab himself. You give a scalpel to a heart surgeon, he's gonna create a transformational heart surgeon, take one heart and put another heart in it, right? So who definitely know Josh is like a heart surgeon, and we're like little infants with little scalpels that we got. ChatGPT is a scalpel. You gotta know how to use it, right? And with ChatGPT, I mean like any models out there, whether it's Claude 3.5, whether it's all these other stuff, that matters. So we're gonna do our best to put you in front of the best founders, so you get motivated, you get inspiration, things don't feel so aloof to you, thinking like, oh, there's no way in hell that I can become Josh. Nah, that's not true. The only reason that you can become someone like Josh is because you haven't surrounded yourself with the right people. If you're around the right people, great things are going to happen. And there's arguably zero shot that, someone, Naval, who's a founder of Angel List, he once said that basically like, just like, focus on yourself, focus on your team, stay healthy, meditate, work, iterate, get feedback, and ignore everything else. Ignore what society's saying. Ignore what all the buzz is out there. Just be like essentially locked in, right? And if you can stay locked in, victory will come, right? And so like Kwas, what did Kwas say? Kwas actually today the first speaker actually met Elon Musk. He's in college. He goes to the University of Waterloo, which is the MIT of Canada. He met Elon Musk. And what did Elon Musk do? When he came into Twitter, he went into his room and he was locked in. He was there before everyone came. He stayed back after everyone left, right? And so like these are the type of people like mentality that like would be really cool. And my idea is the following. I'm just going off on a rant here. I don't know if people like it or like if people are bored. People aren't leaving, so I'm guessing people like it. But my idea is 10% of all code written today is front end, and 90% of all code that's written today is back end. So front end is what? When you go on the AWS website, am I boring you guys? Maybe I am. I don't know. But when you go on the AWS website, right? Sorry, when you go on like Amazon e-commerce website, when you go on the e-commerce website, they pay UI UX designers millions of dollars. Like Rafa, like Masood, who spoke today. He was a UI UX designer at Meta, but he wasn't at the entry level. He was at the lead level. Like he was at the manager level, right? So he's definitely making bank, right? Working at Facebook to work on whatever the heck he did. Big companies pay UI UX designers and front-end engineers tons of money so that the user experience, the 10% of all code that's written around the world, is seamless. So when you go on ZocDoc, when you go on Amazon, when you go on Shopify, when you go on any consumer app, Duolingo, when you go on Google, you have an incredible, immaculate, seamless experience so that whatever your intent was, you're able to get to it as soon as possible, and you're able to move on to like whatever task completed, right? So 10% of all code is written in front end, and 90% of all code is back end. And you can think about back end code as like upstream and downstream microservices or monorepos, right? I figure 5 to 10 years from now, 50 to 75% of all code that's going to be written is going to be agents and agentic interfaces. So what's an agent? And what's an agentic interface? An agent is basically something that will do the job for you. Instead of you going to Amazon.com, you're going to have the agent that's going to go on Amazon.com for you, that knows how you shop and what you need and what, whatever the heck you need. It'll do shopping for you. And what are agentic interfaces? Agentic interfaces are basically like parking lots that are waiting to capture an agent and help it do the task it is. So every single company today has a front end or a landing page. I figure every single company in the future is going to have an agentic interface, a parking lot to receive agents. And every person, every company, every team, every request, every task, every is going to have an agent. Everything is going to have an agent. And I'll throw in a fun fact. What's the difference between an agent and a GPT? What's the difference between an agent and GPT? GPT is like an app, right, that you can create. You can deploy it on the App Store. GPT wrapper is also GPT. The difference between an agent and GPT is an agent never gives up. So GPT maybe will try once, will try twice to do a task, and if it fails, it fails. But an agent has acceptance criteria. It knows what the task it is, and it will not give up until it completes the task. If you're familiar with the backend, I'm going to throw a term to you guys. It's called exponential backoff. So when you call an API and the API request fails, it'll try it again, right? It probably try 50 times and it'll quit eventually, right? So you can think about AI agents, or AI agent is like they have like infinite exponential backoffs, right? That's one way to think about it. And so why do I mention all this? The reason I mention all this is I want Headstarter. The reason why I'm doing Headstarter is I want us to create the future AI engineers of the world. I want the people who create those agents and who create those agentic interfaces to come out of Headstarter eventually, right? And so this is kind of like a very small thing we're doing in this fellowship, but the vision is big and the opportunity is big. I think many developers and software engineers are going to get rid of their jobs, but the software engineers that know how to make agents, the software engineers that know how to use AI tools like Cursor, the software engineers that use Copilot, they'll be performing at a level way higher than literally college kids, right? And so I think AI engineers AI is not replacing software engineers, but software engineers who use AI will replace software engineers who don't, right? And the problem in the situation that we're in right now, there's a chasm, there's a huge chasm, and it's exacerbating even more. There's a wound. The wound is the gap between college and the career, right? More and more founders today do not like to even look at college students, right? They don't even like entry-level engineers because they're just so bad, right? Even if you have a master's from MIT, you might be that bad person. You need to have actual coding experience, right? And so there's a gap, like many founders, many hiring managers, like, man, I hate it. These new grads want like 100K. Matter of fact, if I go to India or Chile, I get like 3 developers, 10 years more experience, and they don't complain. And they work like more hours. Right. And so this is like what the world is coming to. There's a bigger gap between what the quality of student and talent that the CS programs are creating and cultivating, and what the world needs. And so this gap, this chasm, this wound is increasing and exacerbating. And I want Headstarter to be there and fill in the gap. Right. So if you feel like you're wounded, if you feel like you need help, if you like you need a comeback, you need to put your show face. You need to lock in, right? Let's number one tell you exactly where you stand in the rest of the world, and then number two, be the rainmaker, be the shot taker, be the tech leader, be the entrepreneur, be the AI engineer. Like go out there and make the change that you want to happen. Whether you want to start your own company, you want to grow within a company, or you just want to be a coder doing your own thing and doing research and publishing new papers. Do you, right? But what I will tell you is don't do school, because that's not going to help you. You want to do things like networking, meeting people like Josh. You want to build your own projects, build, measure, learn. You want to You want to work in teams, don't work alone. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna do Odin project. Oh, I'm gonna do this Udemy course. 70% of people who buy Udemy course actually never begin. Only 2 to 4% of people who take a Coursera course complete. Like, who are you kidding? And like, you are not gonna do that course. You are not gonna go on that Odin project and do it. And even if you do it, even if you're talented enough to do it, if you do it with other people, aka if you do it in a team, if you did it with other people, like in a community, if you did it with other people in peers, and you're someone who has the capability or who has been there, done that, like the Odin project or the Udemy course, if you do it with other people, you will get there 10 times faster and you enjoy it more. So whatever speed and pace that you're doing, you'll do 10 times more. And I'll give you a straight up textbook example from my time at Capital One. Every single day, or nearly every single day, I try to get on a Zoom call with someone, a senior engineer, a manager, someone from a different team, someone from a different tech stack, and I would literally I would tell them, teach me. Tell me something I don't know. I'll give them a bug that I ran into. Teach me, right? So instead of me going on myself, obviously I would try. I would do Stack Overflow. I'd go on YouTube. I would go on our Stack channels. I wouldn't be able to figure it out. But then I would have that FaceTime. And because I did that over like a year, right? I felt like I knew my code. Like I knew, specifically, it wasn't just code. I knew AWS really, really well, right? To a point where I filed AWS patents. Like I found a way to find, I hate talking about myself because I feel like it comes off weird, but I found a way to find for every single GitHub repository that exists in all of Capital One. Capital One had like 10,000 GitHub repositories. I found a way to find every single AWS service that was used in every single GitHub repository and the price that it costs every single day. So that, and the business use case here was engineers at Capital One get paid a lot of money and there's no oversight. A lot of these guys like are building internal tools that have the craziest AWS architecture patterns. Like there's no, like there were 6, 7 different layers. The 6, 7 different layers of AWS. Basically, if you want some nuanced terms, I'll tell you. When you hit a domain like www.amazon.com, under that, you can do something called resiliency. And what resiliency means is basically there's an earthquake, like something goes down like in one server, you have another server ready to go. So a lot of these engineers, they would add a resiliency layer. And on top of a resiliency layer, they have a deployment layer. A deployment layer is basically when you push new code, you basically, you deploy little bits at a time. It's called blue-green deployment, right? And so your old, like let's say when you upload new code, it'll take 5 minutes to replace all the servers. So in that 5 minutes, you need to have an old version of the old code that's running. So that was called the blue-green deployment. So they would add a resiliency layer, they'd add a deployment layer, and like that, they had 4 different layers. These are all built on elastic load balances, or basically like, a way to switch traffic between different things. The reason I'm telling you is a lot of these engineers, like they took advantage of Capital One's managers, or specifically directors and vice presidents who had no idea or technical expertise, and they spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on AWS patterns for projects that didn't have like more than 1,000 people using that day. And the 1,000 people that use it a day were like engineers who probably ended up on the wrong site, right? And so I realized, and I was like, well, what the heck is going on, right? And so like I created the system that basically would tell the stakeholders, right, the directors and vice president, like, hey guys, you got no idea, but like, all these people are spending all this money. And by the way, they can do the same thing. I give a suggestion. They can do that same thing that would be cheaper, right? They would be cheaper. Like they didn't have to do this whole architecture. They can use these services and get the same results. Or there's some newer architecture instead of using like this old EC2 server and this Docker package or whatever other et cetera. They can do these things. And so obviously my manager loved it and my director loved it and all my team loved it. Teams wanted to steal me. Like it was an incredible experience. Other directors came to me and literally told me like, you need to come join me, my team. I'll fly you over. I'll give you whatever salary. A person even told me, if I leave Capital One, I'll need you to come with me. So whatever company I go to, I need you to come with me. It's incredible validation, right? Like once I heard things like that, I was like, oh crap, like, it'd be like that, huh? So, it's basically like, the reason why I'm saying this is because like a lot of people, like a lot of you guys are beginners. Like a lot of you guys are just starting out, like novices, right? Like you might have a chip on your shoulder, you might have some drive, you might have something like that, but eventually you're gonna reach some level of success or some level of equilibrium. And let me say, once you hit that level of equilibrium, don't stop. The same drive you had when you were like just starting out, like don't stop, right? Like that was the thing for me. Like My first hackathon was a Photoshop app. I couldn't even code. Like or like I needed Wi-Fi to like watch YouTube tutorials, but the Wi-Fi didn't work at the hackathon. It's CUNY hackathon, CUNY budget, it failed. So like I couldn't even watch YouTube tutorials, so I had to shove me into Photoshop. Every time I was trying to figure something out, but I never stopped, right? Like I always trying to find the next thing. Like even now, right? Like I'm always trying to find like what's the next thing I can do that can like really expand everything. And a lot of times when you try to do the next thing, you have to let go of perfection. You have to let go of like things being the right way, right? And so I sometimes come off as like, oh, things aren't organized or whatever, or things aren't like perfect, right? Picture perfect or picturesque. But like picturesque will come eventually, right? Like if you focus on all your time doing one thing, obviously you'll be good at it. But if you're always able to push yourself, surround yourself with the right people, things are just bound to happen. And so like that was my little rant. Again, the whole premise was like, Headstarter has to create the next level of AI engineers. You have to know AI. You want to know AI. You want to like be around other people. You don't want to focus on CS classes. That's not going to help you. What's going to help you is actual grit mentality, working hard. Deadline is coming up Sunday. What's going to actually help you in your life is saying like, hey, I'm going to give my best to submit something on Sunday. And guess what? Sunday will probably happen. Maybe you didn't do anything. It doesn't matter. Even if you didn't do anything, still submit something. Like my first hackathon, I submitted a Photoshop app. Who does that? So still submit something for your application, right? So like that's what I say, like just iterate. And maybe I'll just drop in another bit. Like what is the beauty of iteration, right? A lot of people wanna like do perfect side projects, right? The perfect side project, the perfect lead code roadmap, right? It's not about perfect. It's about iterations and getting feedback, right? And at Headstarter, we've created the system in such a way we're watching. If you're adept, aware, cognizant, and open to feedback, right? The adaptive quotient, there's emotional quotient, there's intelligent quotient, there's also an adaptive quotient. If your adaptive quotient is very high, if you have a high willingness to learn and inculcate and have like a willingness to change, right? Great things will only happen. And so like, what do you call uh there's a story that says like a photography teacher basically I don't know what's wrong with the website, but a photography teacher split his class into two groups, right? The first class, the task was to create one perfect photo. And the second group was to create 100 photos, right? And at the end, they would compare who had the better photo, the one with the 100 photo or the one with the one photo. You guys want to know what the answer is? You guys want to know what the answer is? Yes, nearly every single time, the dude who took 100 photos is better than the dude or like the girl, right? Or like the person, the class, the group that took 100 photos were nearly every single time better than the group who were tasked to create one perfect photo. And why do I say this? I say this because your entire college career, you're told for that one perfect degree, get that one perfect GPA, or get that one perfect class. That's ludicrous. That is not going to work in today's world, especially with AI where it's rapidly changing. What you need to do and have and drive within you is iteration. Like that's why I love hackathons. It forces you to get something on the weekend and you literally have nothing to do. You're stuck in a college, room and a corridor and you just gotta like, knock it out. So like I think just like take Headstarter as getting as many reps as possible, right? It's all about maintaining deadlines, doing whatever you can at deadlines. If you're done early, do the different difficulties. We're going to challenge the heck out of you. You want to find out who's the great people out here. And sometimes it's not about people who are great or good, is sometimes people who are just up for the challenge. Like literally today, one of the speakers, I asked him, you are hiring 5 interns from Berkeley. Instead of hiring 5 interns from Berkeley, if you were to hire interns from Headstarter, what qualities and attributes are you looking for? And you know what he said? He literally said hunger. I'm looking for people who are hungry. I'm looking for people who are hungry. And I was like, wow, like really? He's like, yeah, I'm just looking for people who are just gonna get on and figure it out. If you guys remember, Tariq, a lot of you guys think he looks like GigaChat or something. Tariq, the first engineer at a company that went public for $30 billion. Tariq is, he's a great guy, right? So Tariq, you know what he said? I asked Tariq many times. I was like, yo, Tariq, like, what do you think is a quality of software engineer that really matters, right? Or like, you're literally worth like hundreds of millions right now, right? Like, what do you say? Like, people raise 100 million, but you're worth it. Like, what matters to you? And you've interviewed thousands of engineers. He was like, here's what's important for a software engineer, or like the top qualities: responsiveness, They're always on it. They're always on. They respond. And he gave examples of how like his company Apple, as it was taking off, he was there for 12 years before it IPO'd for 30 billion. And from day one to day IPO, there were days or many days where the app just shut down at the middle of midnight. Everyone had to hop on. Oh guys, let's figure this out. We're always on, right? So that was one quality. Other quality is scrappiness. And what is scrappiness? Scrappiness is basically means like you figure things out, right? Like you basically you are like you don't have to be told what to do. And that's another thing I hate about school. Everyone is in the mentality of being told what to do, right? Like, or like you need to be spoon-fed, right? And so like the scrappy engineer is like someone who figures it out and then does some more. Oh, you needed a UI for this front end. I got you the UI, added analytics to it. And guess what? We have like, whatever other heck you think you wanted. And I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I realized maybe you might want some other thing. That's called like that's scrappiness, right? Like scrappiness. And the other thing he talked about is like literally just hard work, right? Taking ownership and like putting in the hours. Like nothing is going to defeat someone who is putting in the hours. Like how many times do you think Josh is just to like make sure, like I'll just share my screen. Like the speaker we just had, this guy, this is his GitHub. Like this is his GitHub, right? Like this is his GitHub. And then like let me just like, go on here and let me go to Gary Tan GitHub Gary Tan if your GitHub looks like this. Yeah, look. Look, if your GitHub profile looks like this, YC is hiring, right? And look, got like 3,000 whatever likes. He probably got a million impressions. A lot of you guys that I know from, let's see how many Headstarter fellow like this. Okay, that's one, that's two, that's three, that's four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A lot of you guys Headstarter saw this, right? And guess what? I know 10 YC founders, and I'm going to try to get all hiring one intern or full-time engineer from Headstarter. And guess what? If they actually have a good experience, they're going to go to all their friends and tell them like, hey, Headstarter has elite engineers. And guess what? You don't just see their GitHub profile, but you get to see what projects they do and how they work in teams and if they can maintain deadlines, if they can help each other in a collaborative environment and how they do in technical interviewing, how they speak, how articulate are they, what is their sentiment and everything, right? And of course, we don't want to give them any data that you don't approve of. So if you don't like it, if you want to you want to change up the data, you want to show them, we want to give you that nuance and granularity when time comes. But everything is just moving really fast, right? And we want you to be on the helm of the ship, which is if you're not winning, if you're not an A-star today, if your career capital from 0 to 100 is like 20 or 5, guess what? We will help you get to 100. We will take you to that level of place. And I just want to share this one other thing, because I can talk forever. If you go to latent AI engineer, if you go this place right here, right? I'll share this link with you guys. But I want everyone to take a look at this bad boy right here, or bad, whatever. So look, machine learning researcher, right? Like machine learning researcher, data scientist is like one area. Full stack engineer, like Headstarter believes you want to have a product mindset. You want to be able to do back and front end, AWS, machine learning, AI stack, and all that stuff. A true software engineer is here, and the machine learning researcher is here, right? Like in between of this, you have something called AI engineer right here. And AI engineer is building on chains and agents, tooling and infra. This is who you want to be. This is a fast moving space, right? This is what you want to learn. You want to know things like LangChain, right? Like this is the stuff that, like, I think everyone on their resume for the skill section should begin with the word AWS, then GCP, and then LangChain. On your resume, you want to begin with AWS, then GCP, and then LangChain. So what is LangChain? It's a framework to help you with your, large language model and apps and things like that. Used by a lot of different companies. And you know what? A lot of these companies, they want to hire new engineers to teach them AI, right? Like they got like these, old, people. They're maybe management, maybe their time they did COBOL or something like that. Now they hear about this AI buzzword. A lot of companies, specifically enterprise, are scared of AI because they don't want to give ChatGPT permissions, and so they want to build their own clone of open source models. Right? What's an open source example? Anyone want to give an open source large language model example? What's an example of a large language model that's open source? Llama, right? So people every company enterprise wants to have their own, on-prem. This is a cloud term, on-prem they want to have their large language model on-prem, which means like they want to use the equivalent of ChatGPT, or they want to have their developers use ChatGPT or Claude, but they want to make sure that that instance of ChatGPT or Claude is on an open source kind of mm, uh, so open source pattern that's on the company's own cloud, right? And so the company isn't risking, like Amazon is not going to use OpenAI. Amazon employees are not going to. Matter of fact, if you're an Amazon employee and you're caught using OpenAI for your code to get some suggestion, you're probably going to get pipped. You're going to get fired. You're going to go back to like you probably have to meet Bezos like at nighttime or something. Bezos is going to come for you. So you don't want to like you want to make sure that the thing that you know, you want to make sure the privacy and all that. So a lot of companies are looking to hire software engineers, young software engineers, to teach them how to use AI, to teach them how to provision AI. But guess what? If all you learned was create React app and how to do a Java linked list, and you did a bunch of 50, 75 lead code problems on blind 75, who are you? Like, you're not going to teach no one anything. Matter of fact, all those leadership has to teach you their old thinking, and they did CS the old way, and now you know what I mean? No one's ever gonna grow. And then like maybe you somehow get promoted in 2 years, but like you're not gonna be a mover. You're not gonna be a rainmaker. You're gonna be a liability most likely to the asset, the balance sheet. You want to be an asset, right? You want to be an asset to the balance sheet. Like you want to be like someone who like you whatever company and join, right? Like TikTok term is called Aura, or like Aura, AURA, right? Like so like you want to literally be that. It's not just slang. But like you want to walk into a room and be like, dang, like who was that person? When a recruiter looks at your resume, like, dang, there's so much going on, right? Like it's someone took a, yeah. So there's a lot of like you want to have like that level of momentum. There's one other thing I want to share with everyone, and we're late here, but I want to share like anyways, doesn't matter. I was going to share like the vast field of computer science, and how there's a lot that a lot of fields that exist. But actually, I'll still share it. I'll still share it. Um, mm, mm. So as you know, the curriculum that you have at Headstarter is not coming from just me or anyone. We have a network of 400 engineers and 30 unicorn founders. Majority of them did CS undergrad, like Josh, right? Imagine we know 30 Joshes. Every week I want to try to get you a Josh. In-person events, I'll try to get a Josh. And I'll try. It won't always happen, but it will happen every now and then. But with these, we one of the things that we kind of look at sometimes, right, is the concept of computer science roadmap, right? Like there's a lot of things you can do in computer science. There's augmented reality, there's NLP, there's computer vision, there's distributed systems. There's more theory, right? Like you want to do like the Turing machine and do automatas. Remember that? Who likes this? I hate this stuff. When I did that in school, it was so boring. But you had to do it. I get it. Big data. That meme of the Indian prime minister saying big data. Yeah. So you have all these things. The crazy thing though is where's AI? Where's AI? And it's not here. Like this map doesn't have the modern AI stack. Like the modern AI stack today is like the LangChain, the embedding library and vector library, and like being able to fine-tune models. It's not here. The generative AI like scene isn't here. And if you were to add it here, where would you add it? You know where we would add it? Every single subsect and specialization and division within the computer science and software engineering field has a use case of generative AI or AI in general, right? And it's generative AI today, but anyone know what strawberry is? Anyone know what strawberry is? Let's do Sama. Anyone here know what I'm talking about or no? Let's see if people are plugging into it. Anyone here know what strawberry is? Let me look at the chat. Like anyone on Twitter? All right, looks like you guys are gonna have a nice takeaway today. So another takeaway for everyone today. So strawberry. Let's look at this Reddit thread here. So Sam Altman, he put this picture on his Twitter, and people are going crazy about it. Over 1 million views or something. It's a picture of a strawberry. So some people are like, he's just gardening strawberry or something. Other people are speculating because OpenAI has a model called Strawberry, right? They have a model called Strawberry, and basically what Strawberry is their newest app like that's coming out, and it could be GPT-5. It could be something in the realm of artificial generative intelligence or general intelligence. So it'll have bits and pieces of AGI, or like that's a speculation. And so that's called Strawberry internally within OpenAI. Maybe outside they're also going to bring it up, but like this would be this is the new thing, right? There's a lot of buzz around here. So like the reason why I mentioned this is like yeah, a couple of reasons, but yeah, you know, like this is just like some interesting you know, chat GPT and things like that. And if I were to add like some more hype, we already got some speakers for next week. I'll just mention who they are. One of them is um uh one of them is a person who's starting a company called Leap.ai, right? Leap.ai. And they're basically doing similar thing to CoFrame, but for SEO and like marketing and things like that. Now, this guy named Leap.ai, his name is the founder and CEO of Leap.ai. He is like 5'6" and he could dunk a basketball. He was a Division III basketball player for John Hopkins. He could dunk. 5'6", he can dunk. He can dunk, right? There's a fun fact about him. So Alex from Leap.ai, he had a great post today, Alex. And I want everyone to just take home. I think it was great. Leap AI. He basically had a post that said, you know, let me just share this. And you guys will be bored, so I'll probably dip. But he had this post. It was a great post. Let's see, look at all posts. It was this, and I love this. You know, I feel like a lot of Headstarters will resonate with this, which is developer experience, you know, tools with great things like Vercel or Superbase or Postman or PlanetScale, right? If you follow Neat Code, he said if he were to build Neat Code again, he would build Neat Code on the stack that Headstarter is built on. He would build Neat Code on like, you know, the modern, you know, CSS libraries and modern stack. You know, he taught Alex Sacheni, who's this 5'6" kid who can dunk, you know, and professional basketball player, and now CEO of a company that raised millions of dollars in funding and hiring as well. And a good friend of mine, and also a runner, talks about like developer tools experience is a new thing. And a lot of you guys are going to be building developer tools, maybe part of track B, maybe part of track A, maybe part of track C, right? You're building developer tools. And I think you should, because you know, it's your audience and you can publish APIs and you can have people use your APIs, which is great. Anyways, he talks about something called like OpenAI. That's what I like. He said, uh AI products are the commodities. Differentiation still comes from customer experience and distribution, right? That's why I said, like, you want to have a good front end and distribution. You know, last year I sponsored, or earlier this year, I sponsored Georgia Check's AI hackathon. They claimed it was the largest AI hackathon in this United States. And guess what? I saw people going a hugging face and releasing new models. I saw people training QLoRa and whatever. I saw people having incredible, you know, data sets, and just the level of expertise was ludicrous, right? I saw people from masters in CS, but guess what? They couldn't even write a simple front end. They couldn't connect a simple form, the ugliest of forms. They couldn't even make a React connection to the Python script they wrote. That they fine-tuned the whole model, trained it, did the hella swag, did all that stuff, but they couldn't make a front end. Hedge fund intern, Jane Street interns, Hudson River trading interns, the smartest kids in AI can't whip up a simple front end. And you think these guys are gonna be entrepreneurs? I mean, I'm sure they can, but what I'm trying to say is customer experience and distribution. And that's why they're saying today Claude 3.5 are great. Claude 3.5 is great, right? It's a great model, but ChatGPT or OpenAI has a distribution. Just lock that in, right? So here's one of our speakers speaking next week. Another speaker that we have next week is Eric. You guys might know Eric, the Sweeve Codes on Instagram. Sweeve Codes on Instagram. We'll have another founder, also another founder. His name is Shastri. Shastri. Yeah, you know, it's another founder. You know, he's previously sold a company, or he started a company. He left that. You know, really stand-up dude. You know, total killer. You know, we'll have him, and potentially we'll have a couple of potentially we're also talking to some VCs and the senior vice president of Walmart, who reports directly to the Walton family, who is not looking to hire, who's looking to hire from Headstarter some top tier engineers potentially. You know, so we want to bring in some really cool people. You know, behind the scenes, we're having some really cool discussions, so that, you know, the people who are part of the Headstarter, when you're part of now an exclusive job pool, even though it's in the thousands, very quickly you'll be differentiated in your quality of code and your quality of dedication, right? Those two things. And of course, when it comes to like self-agency, a quotient for feedback, team player, all those things are being, monitored. And so yeah, that gives my TED Talk. Thank you for coming today. I spoke an extra hour. Um, the Walton prodigy, right? The Walton generation. So I guess someone said Yasin raises the bar. So I'll just say like one of the reasons why I started Headstarter is because I love studying outliers, right? Like I love studying outliers. Like I want to become outliers myself, right? And I want you guys to think about that same. And the idea is like there's a concept called positive psychology. It's fairly new concept coming out of the Wharton neuroscience department, and basically the idea of traditional psychology is like look at idiots and you find the idiots. And sorry, I don't want to mention that name anymore, but I don't want to mention idiot. Take that away. You look at people who are not who are not average, right? Who have symptoms. You look at people who have symptoms, right? Maybe they're not functioning the right way. And traditional psychology is to study them, right? To glean, observations from them. Positive psychology is the idea of instead of studying the people who are below average, look at the people an echelon or two echelon, a few standard deviations above average. Look at the people who are the happiest. Look at the people who are the richest. Look at the people who have the most impact. Look at the outliers of society or whatever other domain that you care about. And the idea for positive psychology is by studying the outliers, can you lift up the average line of best fit, right? And that's kind of like my hope for Headstarter. Like the people who are part of the Headstarter community will have access to these outliers, will look at these outliers, and they will increase what it means to become like, a software engineer. Like they'll be the ones that are closest to these outliers. And we'll do in-person events. We'll go to 6 different cities. We're looking at Toronto and Boston and LA and Seattle and potentially Dallas and potentially Chicago. We're looking at some of these cities and we'll bring in these outliers in every one of these, right? And these outliers are hiring. But my idea is like literally after Headstarter, we'll change the average line of best fit of what it means to be a software engineer. Like there'll be a difference in the world and what it means to be a software engineer, a difference in talent, right? So we'll be in ATL as well. We'll have one in ATL. So like that's kind of like someone said something, Yasin changing. So that thing came to my mind. Oh, someone said Headstarter is raising the bar every week. Love this. Yeah, we're definitely raising the bar every week. So um yeah, just gotta stay locked in, right? So all right, guys, that was my that was my thing. Someone said vision. I'll mention like one other part of the vision, right? So like the great thing about Headstarter like vision is like it's 3 things, right? The first thing is like CS is like so old. Like my dad did CS 30 years ago. Like I learned the same thing that he did. And whether you go to Cornell, Stanford, UC San Diego, Queens College, U Chicago, Florida, you're gonna literally have literally the same curriculum. Maybe the people around you, the professors will be much better paid or better in rooms and not on a budget, but the same curriculum hasn't changed. So CS is archaic. The chasm is being exacerbated between like the what the world needs and what the school is teaching you. Also, school is very expensive, right? School as a CS major is super expensive. Average CS major I think pays like 37K. Top 20 CS schools are like top 20 in what world? People who are getting a master's, is that really differentiated? Like there's thousands of people who have getting masters in top Ivy League schools, and it doesn't really differentiate you. You got a master's in AI, great. You want a pat in the back, you maybe get into Google, but if you end up working on Firebase docs, what impact did you have in the first place, right? And so like, our first mission is like, I want to change the way CS is done. Like I think CS is like not the way it's done. I want to literally rewrite CS from the ground. Like who and their mom came up with CS? I don't know. Like, and why hasn't it changed? Like, why are these so? Why do these like in this week I talked about something called MPS. I think the MPS with CS degree is like 0. Like no one likes it. Even the people who are good at it hate it. So why are they still doing it, right? So I want to create a better, a more efficacious, more transferable curriculum that will completely not give someone up to speed of what the industry is, but how can they go into the industry already like ready and like at a leading capacity, right? Like at like a senior principal level. So that's like the first goal for Headstarter. Someone said vision. Someone said I see the vision. That's why I'm ranting right now. That's the first vision, to redo like this whole CS world. The second vision is to redo like how people get hired. Everyone hates hiring, right? Like everyone hates getting rejected and everyone hates also applying. You hate, you hate Workday. You hate Greenhouse. You hate even using Simplify. Even Simplify uses makes a job, but you hate it. And so the reason you hate it is because for a bunch of reasons. One, everyone applies the same way and you don't get your individual attention. And so I think that recruiters don't you don't need recruiters. You don't need sorcerers. You don't need ATS systems. These are patterns of a different era that makes no sense, at least for the software engineering and the AI engineering world. You have a recruiter who graduated humanities from Drexel or something, drinks Starbucks in the morning or something, and he or she has no idea of anything like LangChain. Maybe they heard LangChain in some recruiting onboarding call, and they heard their friends say, if you want to get promoted in the recruiting world, you have to know some of these AI buzzwords. So now they're out there, looking for these buzzwords on your thing. But indeed, like these people don't know, right, what AI software engineering is. And so like a lot of hiring managers who don't have who are literally getting paid $1,000 a day, they're not going to spend their time looking through resumes. And so when these recruiters who only grew up drinking these coffees and liberal arts degrees, when they bring up like here's the 5 people I chose for you, the hiring manager goes like, what? Like you got me these people? Like these people, like all they know is how to reverse a linked list or do a dynamic, programming diagonal array. Like they don't know anything beyond that, right? And so like they're flabbergasted. They're pissed off at recruiters, and they're wasting their a hiring manager looks at their engineers like pawns, right? Like they love their engineers. A hiring manager, like a good engineer, is loved, especially if you're like have 10 years of experience and like you're good, like you're like a trophy, right? And so like when you tell this god of an engineer to interview like an entry level person or a senior level person, and then you realize that the recruiter who gave you the recommendation completely bombed it. You know how pissed off you get? You wasted the hiring manager's time. You wasted the senior engineer's time who's getting paid $1,000 for all you had to do is pick a better candidate. And so like that is the recruiters I think is completely bogus. And I think the way Headstarter is, it's a learning platform we get hired, right? So basically we're not just reinventing the curriculum, but we're using the pedagogy and we're using it like all these other things so that you can get like, you get a much better view. And so like when someone who is recommended from Headstarter, the idea is a recruiter is recommending 10 people, the hiring manager maybe selects 2. When Headstarter recommends 10 people, maybe the hiring manager selects 8 because all of them are just like no-brainer, must hire. But to do that, we need to like have we need to have like we need to have um we need to have we need to have high standards, right? If you want a manager to like look at your profile and be like it's a no-brainer, you have to be above and beyond of like what people are expecting, right? So if people are expecting really good software engineers, you just have to be like better, right? Or you have to be unique in a certain way. And that's why there's a second reason of the vision for Headstarter, and the third vision for Headstarter is like just to replace the way interviewing is done. So like let's say a company doesn't want to use Headstarter to hire, but we have built software, or we would like to create software where instead of you asking lead code, you hate doing lead code and engineering managers hate giving you lead code problems. Instead of doing lead code, a much better you know whose office I was at today? I was in the Conviction VC office. Conviction is the people that backed Devin, right? I was literally in their office today. You guys know Devin, the AI whatever debugger that raised 2 billion or raised a 2 billion valuation that got bought at Microsoft. I was in the office today, earlier today. And that's why some of the speakers were a little bit, Anyway, so like I wasn't in there, I was pitching to a different VC, but they happen to have the office in the same place. Regardless, I think a much better interview litmus test, signal is if you tell an engineer, hey, you got 2 days, can you build me a Devin? Or whatever use case it is for that particular company, can you whatever? And guess what? How much does OpenAI pay their software engineers? Like the top tier, like 900K, right? Someone who is trying to get a 900K job, or like especially if they're young and they're pushing beyond their gloves, above their weight, they will take those 2 days very seriously, right? And so like and guys, don't think Devin is like that big of a thing. Devin is like a debugger at best. It's a fancy debugger. It's not a real full software engineer. And maybe they did something, and the team is very smart. I'll definitely agree. The guy he won like 10 month Olympiad or something is a smart guy. But like the reason they got sold to Microsoft, I mean, who wants to sell to Microsoft? If you're building actual software engineers, why would you sell to Microsoft? Because like, maybe it was a facade or maybe it was a good payout. I don't know what it is, but Devin is great. I'm sure they'll do the next big thing. And the investors got a good payday, especially the ones that just invested at 2 billion in valuation, whatever. But the reason I'm saying is because I want to change the way interviews for software engineering is done forever, right? Basically, we're gonna like if you're trying to hire top talent, you're in Australia or whatever, like what you really care about is the person you're hiring. Can they work well in teams? Can they ask good questions? Can they give good feedback? Can they ask for feedback? Are they set? Do they have self-starter agent, qualities? Um, are they scrappy? Are they responsive? Those are the attributes that you can probably measure, right? Like if you have a way of observing how does someone chat GPT, if you have a way of observing of how does someone um, YouTube, like what happens when someone gets stuck on code, how do they ask for help? Like if we created an AI tech lead, if we created an AI software engineer, like how would you pair program with a software engineer? What do you sound like, right? So that was like that's kind of like the idea of the vision for Headstarter. Like number one, to reinvent the CS curriculum. Number two, to remove recruiters from this world, or like from the scene and ATS and all the other software, and also interviewing, right? Into like one unique platform where you as a software engineer, you get to build your career capital. You go from 0 to 100, where 100 is someone who has masters from MIT, has like 2 years worth of experience, highly recruited, probably started coding when they're 6th grade. You get to that caliber of code, and respect and ability and track record, and signal and one for one, uniqueness, and like we'll help you build there, and we'll help companies come to us. Like I see a world where like Gary Tan will email me and be like, hey, how do we get software engineers? Like, can you tell me, behind the scenes secret, like who's your top software engineer? And who benefits the most out of all this? We do, right? Like the best software engineers that we see, we'll probably hire, especially if we want to hire. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Um, I'm not kidding. The software engineer who built the platform, his name is John. John was a Hester fellow last year. Last January, John was part of Headstarter, and we hired him because he was just so good. I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna see a world without John there. Like we love John, so like we hired John, and John is building the platform. And very soon I'll give you guys a sneak peek because you stayed back all the way here right now till now. John is also gonna be making the next Headstarter videos. You can think about John. John is like Hester, like Bill's mentor. Bill, the 28-time hackathon winner. When he writes code, John has to look through it, right? And so John is now not just going to look through Bill's code. He's also going to do some of the more advanced projects, like Project 4 and Project 5. So get giddy up. John's really good at explaining. He's really good at public speaking. Really good at coding. Really good at front end. Really good at back end. Really good at AI. He's really good at like a lot of things. And so I see a world where Gary Tan and these other people will come to us and be like, hey, who are like the people in Headstarter that you think are going to be like rainmakers, right? So like, we'll see that world come. You guys are, in the manifestation in the first phase, and let's see how things goes. I don't want to overhype anything. Don't have over high expectation, but just like stay building, stay grinding. Like don't ever give up. Submit on deadlines. Some stuff is gonna happen. Things are gonna go wrong. But you just gotta hold it down. So you just gotta keep it 100. And I have several like things that I would like to world. When we first built our AI mock interviewer, a lot of people gave feedback like, oh, everyone wants to, who would leave NeetCode to use our platform? Like NeetCode is the goat, right? I don't look at ourselves as competitor. My goal is everyone who uses the Hester platform becomes a NeetCode. You get good at explaining. You start your own YouTube channel. You get distribution. And in addition to that, a lot of people want to work at fan companies. Like the smartest people, they don't work at fan companies. They work for Josh, right? Like if you're really smart, you're gonna find your way to network and work for Josh. And so the idea is the smartest people are not gonna work at these big tech companies. They're gonna create the next big tech company. And I'd love if I can witness that. I'd love if Headstarter can have a hand in that. If we can be the invincible hand, like in economics, right? There's a term known as, if we can provide the scaffolding, if we can provide like the network that maybe your school doesn't have, or the friend circle, or the deadline, or the pressure, or the priority, or the team, or whatever other deficiency or caveat that you're in, if we can provide that so that we can catapult you to your next stage, that's my job. That's well done, right? So, yeah, that's just one thing I want to mention. And like yeah, dang, that was a lot. I said a lot of stuff. And this whole thing has been live streamed on YouTube too, that so I can't even like remove it. Still going. Yeah, I'll probably send it to everyone after this call, but yeah, maybe the next Path to Tech event, I'll just talk. But no, I'm not apologizing. I love what I said. I don't take any minute of that back. But yeah, I hope to meet you guys one day too. Yeah, I like that. Road to Josh for sure. Right, we will wrap it off here. I want to give you guys your time back. Start a Road to Josh track. I love that. Yo, we should do that. Road to Josh track. What does that even look like? Um, eh, Road to Josh. Isn't that like, is that track A or Overkill? Road to Josh? You know what? Someone said Headstarter sequel, right? What if like the follow-up to Headstarter sequel is like Road to Josh, right? Like the follow-up to Headstarter sequel is like the Fellowship. There's like a Ship of Project Daily. That's wild. Yeah, Josh is definitely gonna be like, I have to message Josh. I'm just wanna, I don't, he didn't look too happy in the Zoom call, so um, I want to message him and be like, yo, I love you being here. Gotta follow up. Oh man, you know who messaged me? The investment team who sits on the board of Discord messaged me today. So I got like it'd be so cool if they invest in us, or they want to invest in us. I don't know if we'll take their money, but it'll be cool. I mean, my favorite investor right now is I'm not gonna mention it. I'm not gonna mention it. Maybe I don't know. It's Alex Ohanen, the founder of Reddit. Like I just love that guy. I think it's so cool. If he works with us, and I think it's pretty nice. His wife is also Serena Williams. That's pretty dope. Pretty dope. Yeah, I know like what happened. It wasn't completely out of control, so there's not much I can do about that. Cool. Yeah, I think I wanted to chat. I was like, yo, I need therapy. Literally, I just yapped for an hour and like this is like my therapy done. That's lit. Anyways, I would just say like whatever happened, we shouldn't talk about it. Rather like let's just think forward, path road to Josh track and the sequel to Headstarter, I think is important. Like it's something I want to think about what we can do. So we'll be in the research lab. We'll be in the research lab and we will figure things out what we can do so that there will be a sequel to Headstarter. Don't be motivated. Don't be motivated. Be driven. Like have discipline, do work, and have teams because you will give up, but you will let yourself down, but it's harder to let others down, right? So you need to have a team, and like make sure like all the stuff I said would go to useless if you're not submitting the best project at level 4 difficulty by the Sunday. So that's a challenge for everyone. You make sure that this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's crazy, bro. This Sunday is go to time. So if you haven't submitted project two, please submit project two. If you have submitted project two and you've already submitted project three, go ahead and do that. I actually want to take some questions, but I don't think I can right now. Yes, we will do tour dates. We'll give you a date. I'll try to get it out by this weekend, right? I'll try to get it this weekend. Let me get this recording for this call and share with everyone. I think this was a wonderful experience. Please share, be vocal about Headstarter, be vocal about your work, be vocal about today's events. Tell other people your progress, show them your momentum, make them get excited, make them rally for you, make them want to give you referrals, make them want to hire you. Be so good that they can't ignore you, right? So like that's kind of like, you know, success and excellence trumps all like everything. So like if you can execute, if you can build, if you can show, you build a track record and you have the voice for it, you know how to fight for your bone, you sound, you speak well, dude, like, or you know, girl, like, you know, you got this. Like, you got this absolutely no reason why you can't. And so like whatever other situation or rut or you know, every day is like a grind, every day feels like a abyss, every day feels like a sublime, you know, it doesn't matter. Like you can find out like you can come out of it, you can come out strong and not only just live up to expectation, but leapfrog amongst all the peers. So whatever other setbacks or circumstance situations you have, like doesn't matter, right? Uh, how do I practice communication? Yeah, good night, man. Go to sleep. How do you practice communication? You just have to like get in front of a crowd as much as you can and pitch and present. Take ownership, take initiative. You want to get good at public speaking, organize a meetup. Do a meetup. You know, there's a channel called Meetup. Like, do a meetup. That's how you get good at public speaking. Like on Headstarter, we have a channel called Meetup, right? Like, go on it right now. Go host a meetup to organize. And once all the people come, get everyone in a circle, and then like maybe 4 or 5 people, might be like 30, 40 people. Who knows how many people show up at Meetup, but um, how do you get success rate on LinkedIn? The way you get successful in LinkedIn is actually hard. It's very hard. Like recruiters are, you should email. Use hunter.io to do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is hard unless it's like a software engineer who doesn't have too much of a following. Then it's more you'll get higher success rate. But email is the way to go. Everyone reads emails, so you can find emails online using this tool called hunter.io, and that'd be good. Yeah. Have sort of community in your city. I wonder what that looks like. Anyways, guys, a pleasure speaking to all of you. Thank you so much for staying back all this time. It's
Good
been
night.
great, so I appreciate it. Is that Shreya? Shreya still here?
Yeah.
Oh, hey man.
Good night.
Good night, man. Good night. Collective therapy. I like that. That was collective therapy right there. And I'm gonna share this live stream with everyone in the chat. So peace out, guys.